When you're decluttering your wardrobe, it might start out going great. You feel motivated to let go. You're able to declutter those duplicates and items that you haven't worn in decades, and you're making great progress until you get stuck. And you might be stumped by one of 4 key and sometimes awkward questions that come up. What if I've gained weight or lost weight? What if I don't really like what I have but don't want to buy a whole new wardrobe? What if I have expensive things that I've never worn? What if I have clothing that is not good enough to be donated? If you've encountered these, luckily for you, we will be answering those questions and giving tips about what to do in these situations today. Let's jump in. Clutter question number 1 is, what if my clothing is too damaged to donate? Obviously, when we are donating our different wardrobe clutter, we want to make sure that everything can genuinely be used by that donation center and purchased by someone else. It is not to be the glorified trash can where we send different items that have major holes and are damaged and that someone actually wouldn't buy. Of course, that being said, there are certain donation centers who do some clothing recycling. So if your local center is one of the places that does that and collects damaged clothing to recycle, make sure you don't just throw those items in with the other items you might be donating. Instead, maybe have a separate bag or container where you clearly mark that they are too damaged to sell and therefore clothing recycling purposes. Now I've got a few pieces of damaged clothing here. This one is just so thin that it's practically see-through, and I've already cropped off the bottom of it. And then these capris I had tried mending and still was not able to fix the holes. The holes just reopened back up, so that was no longer usable. Now you've got a couple different options. You can first repair items if you are able. In these situations, I did try that, or it was too thin. The fabric itself was too thin, so it wasn't going to work. But definitely, if it's worth the time and you have the skills or supplies, definitely consider repairing these items first, especially if it's a higher quality piece. You can also consider repurposing these into other uses. So I know I had a very similar shirt like this that was too thin that I actually cut up into like little face cleansing wipes. And I actually use these reusable rags instead of a disposable cotton round as I apply my toner every day. So that's really nice. And you can really repurpose these things into anything. I have made tissues. I have made different cleaning rags. So really these sort of situations are great uses for items that are damaged and you need to repurpose them into something else. If you have too many rags, you could also check in with local animal shelters to see if they could use the extra fabric or textiles for different uses. They definitely collect towels and sheets, so it's possible that some of the clothing could be beneficial. And if all of these situations don't work, you may want to just look into directly recycling your clothing. Now, for this, there are a variety of different options. Of course, as I mentioned, some donation centers have this feature built in, but there are some different groups that will help recycle some of your different clothing. And with clothing recycling, many options are going to be more local and regional, but I will link a few general options in the description below in case you're curious about checking those out as a good starting place. Clutter question number 2 is, what if I have gained or lost weight? What do I do then with the clothing that no longer fits? Before we get into the answer, I just want to remind you that this video is done in collaboration with 20 other creators who are part of Clutter-Free January, a 4-week video series here on YouTube. This week we are tackling clothing decluttering, and you can find some amazing options if you head over to the playlist below or search Clutter-Free January. Last week was about kitchens, and coming up in the challenge, we will be tackling paper clutter or paper organization and sentimental or storage items. It's a lot of fun, and again, I will always leave these playlists linked in the description field of this video. But now let's get into weight changes. In life, weight fluctuations are totally normal and affect a lot of us, including myself. In the last 5 years, I've gone through periods of time where I've been gaining weight and losing weight and changing sizes in the process. And this is certainly something that happens for a variety of factors, some of which we control, some of which we can't control as well. My general guidance in this situation is to only keep items from a different size in the direction that you want to go. So if you are trying to lose weight and you do lose some weight and have items that are too big for you, I would personally and have decluttered those items because I know that I don't want to go back there. In life, sometimes when we have a backup plan all easy and ready to go, it enables us to allow ourselves to take that backup plan rather than saying, well, if I gain weight, I have nothing I can wear and I'd have to go buy more clothes and I don't want to do that. So maybe those actions are going to motivate me to continue to make healthier choices because I know I don't have those options ready for me. Of course, we also want to understand the pieces of clothing at face value and recognize them for what they are regardless of their size. For example, let's say you are trying to lose weight and you have deliberately kept items from when you were smaller or from a phase in your past, even, those high school clothes, maybe with the idea of wanting to one day fit in those jeans again. But we have to ask ourselves, if and when I make it to that size, will those items be something I want to wear? Are they part of my style? And it's important for us to keep the items that reflect our style and what we wish to wear going forward. So it's very likely that some of those pieces of clothing that you've been saving for when you get to a certain size are actually not even our style anymore. This was also something I experienced. I was holding on to certain things that I thought would be really cute once I got down to a certain weight, but then I realized that that's more so clothing that, a 20-year-old wears rather than a 29-year-old like I am. And there was some peace in that, saying, you know what, yeah, I think that phase of my life of potentially wearing something like that is over, and that's totally fine because I am a different person myself than I was when I was initially wearing that. A final strategy I'll say here as we think about moving our wardrobe forward is that if weight fluctuation is very common for you and you find yourself nearly every year going up and down, that same 5 to 10 pound window, it might be helpful to keep certain pieces of clothing on hand that are more flexible and look good on both the lighter version and the heavier version of that fluctuation. So then you have solid choices and pieces that you enjoy and you feel confident and comfortable in no matter what the actual weight is. That could be a good direction in which to go as you think about making future purchases. Again, this topic can be so personal, so obviously it's going to depend upon a lot of factors, but I'm hopeful that gives you some peace of mind as you think about what to do in that situation. Clutter question number 3 is, what if the clothing that I have was expensive, but I've never really worn it? What do I do in that situation? The root issue behind this particular problem is financial guilt. We feel guilty that we spent, whatever amount of money on these items, but haven't felt like we got our full use or our money's worth out of these items. The good news is there are 2 main directions you can go. The first direction is to put it to the test, and that's where you're essentially trying it out. Wear it, use it, incorporate it as part of your look or everyday life, and see if it does add value. If you start wearing it, and you might have to wear it a couple times to test it out multiple times, you're either going to find that it is valuable to you and you're wondering why you weren't wearing it sooner. Or you might realize, number 1, I don't like wearing this, and in that case, you can let it go. Or you might find that you don't actually want to even put it to the test. You have resistance to actually wearing it. And in that case, if you won't even try it out and put it on, then it's probably best to donate or try to sell if it is something that could still have monetary value and be worth your time actually selling it. In cases of formal wear, it's a little different since you probably won't be wearing this formal wear in your everyday life. However, you can truly ask yourself if you do anticipate wearing it at the next formal event that you're attending or one of the next ones. If the answer is no, even though it was expensive, that definitely should be donated or sold. The main reason why this strategy works is that action brings clarity. When we actually try doing something, we then have a better awareness of whether it works or not. If you've got this item in your closet with the tags still on it, then you don't know how effective or ineffective it's going to be, or if you enjoy wearing it. I once had a beautiful dress that I loved when I tried it on at the thrift store, since that's where I purchased most of my clothing. And with that in mind, I purchased it, and this was back when I was still teaching in the classroom, and I thought this would be a perfect dress to wear at school, but after wearing it a few times, I discovered that it wasn't great for long-term wear. It was a bit staticky, so it would kind of cling weird and wasn't as comfortable as I thought. And you know what? It was a bummer that I only wore it a few times, but I just donated it after that point because I knew it really wasn't living up to, the hype. Another option for you, rather than putting it to the test, is just to get it out of your space, whether that's through selling, regifting, or donating. With this, if it still has the tags on, it's obviously causing some sort of stressor or emotional guilt, and we don't want anything that brings guilt to stay in our space because it's a reminder of something we are embarrassed about. I love the idea of out of sight, out of mind. So if you don't actually see yourself using an item and it still has tags on it, or you just never use it or feel guilty about it, let's get it out. If you want, you can try selling it. I personally haven't ever sold my clothes. Granted, like I said, most of my clothing is secondhand, so there wouldn't necessarily be the same kind of market for it. But I do know that there are services like Poshmark or a local consignment shop that you could reach out to see about getting some money back from this item. You won't be able to get full price for it, obviously, since most of our items depreciate in value once we take them out of the store, but you can still get some of that money back from that purchase, while also getting it out of your space. You also could consider regifting the item or giving it to a friend or coworker or family member if there's someone who has a similar size and would be interested in that. I know in my own family, my mom, sister, and I have all shared clothing at various points. So it could be worthwhile to see if you've got anyone in your space who would genuinely enjoy it. The final option is to have peace with donating the item. Chances are the item is in good shape if you haven't actually worn it, and it is possible then that someone else would be able to get value out of that, who would purchase that for whatever reason, and at the very least it's out of your space and out of your mind, causing stress. And clutter question number 4 is, what if I don't love my wardrobe, but it's still fine, and I don't want to buy a new one? I totally resonate with this question, and I know myself have found this to be a struggle. I should also admit that by no means am I a fashion expert or would consider that to be the case. My uniform or go-to look is yoga pants or leggings with a t-shirt, and I love it. But what to do if you're finding yourself in this situation? I think one of the most helpful options is to reflect about this process as a gradual phase-out plan. Over time, we gradually wear out different pieces of clothing, or our style kind of evolves, and we gradually purchase new things. So with that, give yourself some sort of loose timeline, such as anywhere between 1 and 3 years, where you wish to work through transition your wardrobe into something that is more meaningful to you and that you feel more excited about. With that, a slow timeline here, number 1, allows us to continue wearing what we have and getting value out of what we have before letting go of some of these things, and also helps us gradually bring in the new intentional pieces that are going to work out well for us. And by spreading out this timeline for several years, we're enabling us to do this at a slow and reasonable pace, rather than going on some sort of intentional shopping spree where you're trying to fill up your capsule wardrobe with new things. Now, when I am trying a little bit with my appearance, something that's helped me a lot has been thrift shopping and secondhand shopping. I do greatly prefer it to purchasing new items for the cost, for the environmental and social benefits, and it's just kind of a free reign. You've got so many wonderful options, you don't know what you might find. It's a good way to do that with fewer risks because you're not having to pay as much money, and you also don't have to feel bad if something doesn't work out because you didn't buy it new in the first place. It can just go right back to the thrift shop when you're done with it. I think a seasonal approach to clothing can be helpful. So every season, go through what you have, reflect about what you enjoyed wearing and what you felt good in, as well as what you didn't feel as good in and didn't enjoy wearing. And that can be a good chance to remove some of those pieces that you didn't enjoy, especially as seasons are changing and you're deciding what you wish to keep and let go of. Also, it can be important to try to dress up the pieces that you have and see if you can feel better about them or include them in different looks, even if them by themselves is not that exciting. Let's take a plain t-shirt, for instance. The t-shirt is so flexible, I can wear it as is with some yoga pants. I can wear it with jeans. I can wear it with a jacket, such as this jean jacket. I can wear it with a sweater. I can wear it to work out in. I can even wear it as pajamas. Same shirt, lots of different options, and there are many more fashionable people who could come up with even more options. I just personally don't have as much else that I would use for styling purposes, and that's fine with me. Above all, the most important thing we can do is to be very intentional about any new purchases we're making. Before you purchase any piece of clothing, take some extra time to reflect about if it is truly the right fit for you. Is it going to fill a void in your wardrobe? Can the item be mixed and matched in various ways? Does it meet other standards that you have? Can it be flexible in different scenarios that you can wear it in? When we take extra time before making a purchase, rather than just grabbing something we see while we're shopping for something else, it can prevent us from having future regret and then being in the same place of, I have these things that I don't love wearing, but I want to get value out of them, and there's nothing wrong with them. I hope those wardrobe clutter questions were helpful today as you continue simplifying your wardrobe. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, I will link the playlist to the Clutter-Free January series so you can keep the fun going and learn more from so many amazing creators. Also, if you're curious about some of the clothing decluttering videos I've done in the past that show me actually going through my clutter in my earlier stages along the journey, I will also leave those linked below so you can check them out as well. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you have not yet joined the Abundantly Minimal community, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!